Welcome to Reddit Pulse, where we dive into what the internet is actually talking about. I'm Sarah.
Marcus here.
And I'm Jamie. This week on Reddit has been absolutely wild, folks.
Wild doesn't even cover it. We've got AI companies racing each other like it's Fast and Furious, the gaming industry imploding on itself, some genuinely cool science breakthroughs, and oh yeah, a literal prince getting stripped of his titles.
That escalated quickly.
That's kind of the theme this week, isn't it? Everything's escalating. Let's start with the AI stuff, because Reddit's AI communities are having a full-blown identity crisis right now.
Okay, so if you've been following r/artificial, r/machine learning, or r/local LLM, you know that this week the open source AI community basically declared war.
Wait, war on who?
On the idea that you need billion-dollar companies to make good AI. Alibaba just dropped Qwen 3, their latest model, and people are losing their minds over it. It's competitive with GPT-4 level stuff, but it's open source and you can run smaller versions on a decent gaming PC.
I'm gonna pump the brakes here for a second. Yes, Qwen 3 is impressive. Yes, the benchmarks look good. But can we talk about how every week there's a new GPT-4 killer that's gonna change everything? And yet, most people are still just using ChatGPT or Claude.
Marcus bringing the reality check early today.
Someone has to. Look, I'm not saying open source AI isn't important. It absolutely is. But there's this pattern on Reddit where techies get excited about tools that 99% of people will never use or even know exist.
Fair point, but here's why this one matters. There's also this model called Kimi K2 that's doing something called reasoning, like actually thinking through problems step by step before answering. And when you combine that with the fact that these models are getting small enough to run locally.
Okay, translate that for normal humans.
Right, sorry. Imagine having something as smart as ChatGPT, but it runs on your laptop, doesn't need the internet, and nobody's collecting your data. That's the direction this is headed.
In theory. But let's talk about what's actually happening right now. r/technology is full of posts about AI-generated slop taking over the internet. Did you see that Coca-Cola Christmas ad that was entirely AI-generated?
Oh God, I saw that. It was like someone asked a computer to create holiday cheer and it just threw up every Christmas cliché into a blender.
The comments on that post were brutal. People calling it soulless, lazy, a sign that corporations will replace creativity with algorithms the moment they can save a buck.
And they're not wrong. This is the actual AI revolution that's happening. Not cool open source models for tech nerds, but corporations using AI to cut costs and cut people. Same thread, someone shared a story about Fox News using AI-generated videos without disclosure.
That's terrifying.
It is terrifying. But here's the thing, and this is where Reddit gets interesting. You've got this split conversation happening. On r/local LLM, people are excited because AI is democratizing. On r/technology, people are worried because AI is dehumanizing. And they're both right.
Classic Reddit. Everyone's right, everyone's wrong, everyone's yelling.
Speaking of yelling, can we talk about the humanoid robots? Because that thread on r/futurology about Xpeng's Iron robot had people in full sci-fi panic mode.
Oh yeah, the Iron Man robot. Xpeng, the Chinese EV company, just showed off this humanoid robot that can apparently do factory work. And people immediately jump to, well, there go all the jobs.
I mean, are they wrong though? We've seen this movie before. Automation comes in, promises efficiency, and workers get left behind.
True, but the comments that got the most upvotes weren't the doom and gloom ones. They were people pointing out that we've been promised robot workers for decades, and we still can't get a vending machine to reliably give us correct change.
That's actually a great point. There's a huge gap between demo videos and actual deployment. Remember when Boston Dynamics was going to revolutionize everything?
They make great YouTube videos.
Expensive YouTube videos.
But here's what I think is actually interesting about this whole AI moment. It's forcing people to ask what work even means. There's a thread on r/singularity about how if AI can do creative work, technical work, and physical work, what's left for humans?
Podcasting. apparently.
For now, give it a year, and there'll be an AI podcast that sounds better than us.
Okay, you know what? Let's take a break before we spiral into existential crisis territory. When we come back, we're talking about why the gaming industry might be eating itself alive.
All right, we're back. And we need to talk about the absolute chaos happening in gaming right now.
Where do we even start? GTA 6 getting delayed? Rockstar Games union busting? Nintendo suing everyone who looks at them wrong?
Let's start with GTA 6, because r/gaming has been on fire about this. Rockstar announced the game is getting pushed back, and normally that would just be disappointing. But here's the twist. It came out the same week that reports dropped about Rockstar aggressively fighting unionization efforts.
The timing was not great for them.
Not great is an understatement. You've got developers saying they're being crunched to death, workers trying to organize for better conditions, and then the company delays the biggest game in the industry, while simultaneously trying to block the union. Reddit put 2 and 2 together real fast.
And came up with corporate greed, which, fair.
The top comment on the r/technology post about this was something like, "They have money for union-busting lawyers, but not for reasonable working conditions." Got like 15,000 upvotes.
It's the exact same pattern we see everywhere. Company makes record profits, treats workers like disposable resources, acts shocked when workers want basic dignity.
But here's the thing that gets me, and this came up a lot in the comments. Gamers are so addicted to these franchises that none of this will matter. GTA 6 will come out, it'll break every sales record, and Rockstar will learn nothing.
Oof. That's dark, but probably accurate.
There was actually a really thoughtful thread on r/games about this. Someone pointed out that we're stuck in this cycle where we criticize these companies, we say we won't support them, and then we collectively forget the moment they drop a trailer.
Guilty as charged. I'm absolutely going to play GTA 6.
At least you're honest about it.
But, speaking of corporate behavior, can we talk about Nintendo? Because r/programming and r/game dev have been going absolutely nuclear over Nintendo's patent lawsuits.
Oh, the Palworld situation.
Yes, so for anyone who doesn't know, Nintendo is suing Pocket Pair, the makers of Palworld, not for copyright infringement, ICS, because the creatures in Palworld are legally distinct from Pokémon, but for patent infringement on game mechanics.
Game mechanics. They're claiming ownership of game mechanics.
Specifically, things like throwing a ball to catch a creature and riding a mounted creature, which, if you think about it for more than 5 seconds, is absolutely insane.
The comments on this were incredible. Developers were pointing out that if Nintendo wins this, it could basically kill indie game development. Imagine if every basic game mechanic was patented.
There was a comment that went viral. What's next? EA patents the forward pass in football games? Activision patents jumping?
The patent system is so broken. Companies patent obvious stuff, sit on it, and then sue smaller competitors who can't afford to fight back.
Reddit found examples of games from the 90 seconds doing the exact same mechanics. Prior art everywhere. But Nintendo has infinite lawyer money.
This is why people pirate Nintendo games and don't feel bad about it.
I'm not saying I condone piracy, but I understand it.
There's also this bigger conversation happening about Steam and platform monopolies. Did you see the r/PC gaming thread about Steam's market dominance?
Yeah, and that one was fascinating because it's not clear-cut. Like, people love Steam. Gabe Newell is basically a folk hero on Reddit.
Right, but loving something doesn't mean it's not a monopoly. Steam takes 30% of every sale. And if you're a game developer, you basically have to be on Steam or you don't exist.
Steam earns that cut because they provide value. Cloud saves, workshop, community features, refunds that work.
True, but when one company has that much control, they can change the terms whenever they want.
There was a comment that stuck with me. We went from hating GameStop to loving Steam, and we didn't learn anything.
That's depressingly accurate.
The gaming industry is basically a case study in how capitalism eats itself. Workers exploited, consumers exploited, independent creators exploited. Also, a few executives can have slightly bigger yachts.
Okay, we need to talk about something less depressing before I lose faith in humanity.
Good news. Science is actually solving problems. Let's take another quick break, and then we'll talk about teeth that can heal themselves and other legitimately cool stuff.
Welcome back. And yes, we're going to talk about some actual good news for once.
Okay, r/science had some genuinely exciting stuff this week. The big one was this breakthrough in tooth enamel regeneration.
Wait! Like regrowing teeth?
Not quite regrowing whole teeth, but close. Researchers developed a gel that can regenerate tooth enamel.
That's actually huge. Enamel doesn't grow back naturally, which is why cavities are permanent damage.
Exactly. And the comments on this were so wholesome. People were like, "This is the sci-fi future I was promised."
As someone who has spent way too much money on dental work, yes please, fast track this immediately.
There's always a but though. The research is early stage. It'll take years to get through trials, and it'll probably be expensive as hell when it first comes out.
Marcus, can you let us have this one nice thing?
I'm just managing expectations. But fine, it is legitimately cool science.
What else made the rounds in the science communities?
There was a really interesting study about cancer and the microbiome. Basically, the bacteria in your gut. Turns out the mix of bacteria you have might influence how well cancer treatments work.
That's the kind of thing that sounds simple, but could completely change how we approach treatment.
Right? And there's already companies working on personalized microbiome therapy to improve cancer outcomes. It's wild.
Okay, but the study that everyone was fighting about in the comments, the COVID vaccine one?
Oh boy, yeah. So there's this large-scale study that came out showing COVID vaccines are safe and effective, with minimal serious side effects.
And the comments were exactly what you'd expect. Evidence-based discussion on one side, conspiracy theories on the other, moderators working overtime.
What struck me was how many people in the comments were saying they're just exhausted by the whole conversation. Like, the data is there, it's been reviewed, can we move on?
But we can't move on because there's still a huge chunk of the population that doesn't trust institutions, doesn't trust data, and no amount of evidence will change their minds.
Which brings up a deeper issue about science communication. We're really bad at explaining uncertainty. Scientists say 95% effective, and people hear either perfect or fake.
There was a great comment about this. Someone said science operates on probability and nuance, but internet culture operates on absolute statements and tribalism. Those two things can't coexist peacefully.
That's why I actually like seeing these studies on Reddit. Yeah, the comments can be a mess, but you also get actual researchers popping in to explain things. You get thoughtful discussion buried under the noise.
Reddit at its best is crowdsourced expertise. Reddit at its worst is confidently incorrect people with too much time.
That should be the site's new motto.
There was also that study about contraception use increasing after the Dobbs decision. r/science and r/politics both had big threads about it.
That one was fascinating because it's like behavioral economics in real time. Take away abortion access, and suddenly people are way more careful about birth control.
Which seems obvious, but it's important to have data confirming it. Policy has consequences, and now we can measure them.
The comments on that one were surprisingly not a complete dumpster fire. Lots of people sharing personal stories about changing their approach to family planning, discussions about access to different types of contraception.
There's something darkly funny about the fact that the people who pushed hardest for overturning Roe also tend to oppose comprehensive sex education and contraception access.
It's almost like it was never about protecting life and always about control.
Okay, we're drifting back into depressing territory. Let's shift to the world news stuff, because there's a lot to unpack there.
All right, world stage time. And the big one everyone's talking about, Prince Andrew getting absolutely wrecked by his own family.
I mean, wrecked is putting it mildly. King Charles stripped him of his titles, his security, his allowances, basically everything except his name.
And r/World News was here for every minute of it. The top comment was something like, "When even the most dysfunctional family in England says you've gone too far, you know it's bad."
The whole situation is wild. Prince Andrew's ties to Jeffrey Epstein have been public knowledge for years, but the royal family kept protecting him. Now, suddenly, they're cutting him loose.
What changed, though? That's what people in the comments were debating. Is this actually about accountability, or is it about PR damage control?
Probably both. Charles is trying to modernize the monarchy, slim it down, make it more cost-effective. Andrew was already a liability, and now he's an expensive liability they don't need.
There's cynicism to it, though. If Andrew wasn't a PR disaster, would they care? The monarchy has protected terrible people for centuries.
The comments on this really captured that tension. Half the people were like, "Finally, some accountability," and the other half were like, "This changes nothing. Abolish the monarchy."
Classic Reddit, taking any news story and turning it into a referendum on capitalism and democracy.
To be fair, that's not entirely wrong. Hereditary monarchy in 2025 is kind of absurd.
But weirdly, people love it. Like, even Americans who fought a war to get away from monarchs are obsessed with royal gossip.
It's the same reason people watch reality TV. Dysfunction is entertaining when it's not your dysfunction.
Switching gears, the NYC mayoral race. Zohran Mamdani won, and r/Politics was celebrating like their team won the Super Bowl.
Okay, context for people who don't follow New York politics?
Mamdani is a progressive who ran on housing and transit. He beat several establishment Democrats.
New York has been trending moderate. Eric Adams was pro-police, pro-business, centrist.
So this is a pendulum swing back to the left?
Potentially. The comments were full of people saying this shows progressive policies are popular when you actually campaign on them.
But there was also skepticism. People pointing out that winning a primary in a deep blue district doesn't mean the ideas will scale nationally.
I think the theme this week, across all these stories, is that we're watching systems strain under their own contradictions. AI promising liberation, but delivering corporate control. Gaming companies making billions while exploiting workers.
But there's also resilience in these stories. Open source developers pushing back, workers organizing, researchers making breakthroughs, voters demanding better.
Reddit's kind of the perfect lens for this, because you see both the cynicism and the hope, the dysfunction and the potential, all in the same threads.
Until the comments get locked because everyone's fighting.
That's Reddit Pulse for this week. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.